All right, we're going to continue this morning with the Glencoe Yellow Jackets and Coach Scott Martin, his first year with the Yellow Jackets, and looking forward, Coach, to seeing you in Etowah County this year. And if you'd just introduce or let them introduce themselves, the two players that you brought with you, then make some opening comments about, I know you've just been there a short time, but about the Glencoe Yellow Jackets this year.
You want to introduce yourself first?
I'm Caleb Chapman. I'm a senior. I play O-line for the Glencoe Yellow Jackets, and it's great to be here.
I'm Nolan Fairley. I'm a senior, and I play quarterback and outside linebacker.
First of all, it's great to be here. It's great to be a Glencoe Yellow Jacket. It's an exciting opportunity. I guess my whole career has always been traveling around from Louisiana back in 1990. I know these guys weren't even a glint back then, but in 1990 I got my first head coaching job at 27 and thought I was going to rule the world. And an old guy from the town came in to school I had and said, "Coach, you're not going to win a game this year." And I'm 27. I'm thinking, okay, right. And we didn't. So it was an eye opener. But 30 years as a head coach, this will be my 30th year, you learn a lot of things and you adapt to not only the place that you're at, but the type of athletes that you have and the program that you have. And so we've been able to make great strides, even at that place, which was my first job, to be able to take it from 0-10, and then go to a district championship in Louisiana, which it was the first one they'd had since 1958. So we turned the corner with those guys. So everywhere I've ever been, it's been an opportunity to rebuild programs, and I love that. I love the opportunity to go to places where they tell you that you can't be successful or that you're not successful, and they tell you all the woes about the program before you go in, and then you get in there and you're able to make a difference in these young men's lives, rally a community back around these teams, and get community pride back and get team pride back, and of course get winning football back.
Coach, you talked about 30 years and you've been at multiple places and gone into these situations where you're rebuilding a team. Is there any one secret in all the places that you've been on where you start and how do you build that team to a winner?
Number one's consistency. I think that's the thing. I tell people all the time that if they bring you in and, I look at the turnover in coaches, I think I'll be the fourth coach in 4 years here, fourth coach in really 6 years. At Ohatchee, when I went in there, I was the third coach in 4 years or the sixth coach in 11 years. And, I told them bringing me in, look, if you're going to look at me to be there for a year or two and not be satisfied with the results, then don't hire me. Of course, you never know what you're getting into. And I walked in, and these are 2 of 10 great seniors that I have. And all of a sudden, I look around and I look at the potential of what these young men have and what we're going to do on the field. And their work ethic is what I'm going to judge them by. And so the demands of hard work, again, my 30th year as a head coach, my 37th year coaching high school football, I've just got a whole different outlook from when I first started to where I'm at right now. So the consistency of having the same coaches, the same system, we're not going to change. I mean, pretty much everybody knows what we do from an offensive standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, and those aren't going to change. We're not going to budge from that. We're going to build around the type of athletes and the type of team that we have, and the best way to do that is you have to adapt. I mean, I grew up, I was a wing T guy, an I guy, Georgia Tech veer guy, 2 tight end, split back veer guy, a split T guy, which probably nobody in this room knows what that is, except, maybe a couple of those guys over there do, the split T. And so, I have done a little bit of everything and then morphed into the Rich Rodriguez spread stuff, which it's ironic he's now at JSU because he and I were friends back in the late 90s. And then went into some of Gus's stuff when he was still at Springdale in Arkansas. And so I've always been kind of an adapter to what's the newest thing, but I've also been an adapter to what your guys can do. If I go in with these guys and I'm going to expect them to play one way and they don't fit into that offensive or defensive system, then we're going to have a long time before we can be successful. But these guys don't have a long time. This is their senior year. So everything that we're doing is to turn around the program expediently And from the 7 weeks of work that we're just coming off of, these guys have done a fantastic job, so I'm looking forward to that.
Coach, I know we talked when we sat down for your interview about the community of Glencoe and the excitement. I told you I live in the Glencoe area, and it's been a long time since I've seen so much excitement around this program. Talk to us about that, and then I've got a question for the guys after you answer that.
Well, with change comes excitement. That happens. And, but you have to be able to settle down in the change. The community's been fantastic. I mean, from afar, obviously, I played in the same region with these guys for a long time, other than a couple of years. And so they were always, back from when Lee was the head coach here when I first got to Ohatchee, and then to come to Glencoe and be a few coaches after Lee. I know what the potential of the program is, but I also know what the community's like. And, I look at the community as second to none. They are very supportive of their young men, supportive of the program, and all of the facilities and the resources are there for success and for success to come early. And that's not making predictions because I can't judge, like I said before, I can't judge wins and losses. Wins and losses don't always determine whether you're successful or not. But that's kind of cliche because you're always making an excuse. But these guys will tell you that, I'm not going to make any excuses for them. I mean, they're laying it out there on the line every day. And, we are challenging them probably different than they've ever been challenged. But I think that to rally, our community is going to be the first to rally around us. And that's going to have a big say because there's nothing like coming out onto the lines between the sidelines on Friday night and having a full house on your side of the stadium. So we're looking forward to that.
And for you two guys, both of you are seniors. This being your senior year, having another new coach. Talk to us about the changes that have taken place since Coach Martin has been there and some of the expectations you guys have going into your senior year. Start with Noah.
The biggest thing for me would be the conditioning. It's really, really hard. But the weight room stuff is, it's pretty hard too, I'm not going to lie. But everybody's gotten stronger in the weight room, and everybody's gotten extremely a lot faster. But and we're in way better shape. And I don't know, I'm really excited for this year and to see what we can do.
Well, I'm also really excited for this year because around the field house and where it used to be just lackadaisy, everybody's laughing around, there's a more serious attitude now. It's like, hey, we really need to step things up because this guy ain't kidding around. So he knows his stuff, so we need to know our stuff too. So,
Coach, a lot of people may or may not know this. You're from Deshlerhan, and you've coached Ed Reed, Hall of Famer. You've coached players from all different calibers. Glencoe is a special place, and you told me one-on-one that it reminded you a lot of Ohatchee when you got there. What are the similarities you see in the early days of Ohatchee that you see here in Glencoe now? Well,
just that you're coming into a place where the history of the school has had success. I know back in the 70s, Glencoe won 90-plus games, and same thing happened, at Ohatchee back in the 70s. They won 90-plus games. And you do that over 10 years, that's a lot of wins. They both won a state championship back in the 70s. So there is success in the history of that school, and there's success in the history of the Glencoe program. So I think what's hard is to go into a program where you can go back years and years and years and not see any consistency and success. It makes it turning around or establishing a program a lot harder. But there's a lot of people in our community that are our biggest supporters that grew up in those 70s and played on those teams in the 70s. So they know what success is, and it's good for these young men to have those guys as their biggest fans. And, I laugh when they talk about the conditioning. The conditioning is just about challenging those guys to do stuff they've never done before. And I don't know whether it's hard or not. I mean, it was hard for me when I did it in college, and I know that was a long time ago. But I know what they can withstand and what they can do, and I know that they can go a lot further than mentally they think they can go. And so that's been the kind of the mantra all summer is, to go to places where we haven't been before, to be uncomfortable. I think when you're in your comfort zone, you're never going to get any better. And so we've pushed them beyond their comfort zone a lot, and they've responded. That's been the biggest thing that I think is a change is that the response, and not only the response from the players, but the response from the coaches. Our coaches are 100% bought into what we're doing, and they're 100% on board. And, I tell those guys that, you know, fans and outsiders, especially people that are in the school, and I don't mean faculty, but other students, they're wishy-washy. They're for you when you win, and they're not for you when you lose. But the thing that won't change is the guys that are in that locker room. Those coaches and those players remain consistent. And as long as they have each other's back, then I'm really not worried about what anybody else thinks about us, because I know what we're doing will work. It's just, you know, it's going to be up to these guys on either side of me and those other guys on the football field to the extent that it works and how fast it works. But from a physical standpoint, I mean, I was impressed when I walked in. And then from the mental standpoint and the conditioning standpoint, it's done nothing but get better and better and better. So I think we're on a faster pace than when I first got to Ohatchee, because it was a little bit different situation. But these guys have had a lot of things that have already been established. It's just a matter of molding it all together and having it come together, you know, as one thing.
This is for both players. The installation of what Coach is doing offensively and defensively, obviously.
They don't know
being
yet.
the quarterback. Well, I was going to speak to some of the details, but what you just said kind of changes my question a little bit. How excited are you for that change? I don't know how much of a departure it was from what you were doing before, but how much anticipation do you guys have to basically roll out essentially a new football team running a different style of ball?
I'm excited just to see how everything works, and you know, it's a lot different than the previous offensive that we ran and stuff. But I don't know. I'm just excited to get it going and see how it works.
Yeah, I got the same answer he does, but it's super excited to see what we can do and how we can execute it.
You know, the one thing about what we do is I just think it's still the basis of football. It's a very physical offense. It's very demanding. You have to be mentally tough. It can be monotonous at times. It can be boring at times. But that's how you become good at something. It's constant repetition over and over and over and over again. And then we talk about the things that are important. And for us, being physical is important. And so that's why I said coming into the weight room, I'm excited about where we were, because I can see the physicality as far as the strength. Now what we've got to do is we've got to be better mentally, and I see that has come along in these 7 weeks tremendously. So I think that, you know, all the puzzle pieces are there. We've just got to get them put together.
And speaking of that puzzle, good lead-in, you have the physicality, the mental toughness, and the conditioning. Just looking at your schedule, all those things are going to have to come into play just to be competitive week in and week out, starting with the defending state champion Piedmont, Hoaxbluff, Westbrook, Geraldine, Plainview, Ohatchee, and Sylvania. That's week in and week out. It's going to be a challenge for these kids to perform at a top level.
Well, the good thing is I've played in that region before, and we've had a lot of success in that region before. But I think that, you know, when you think about the teams that left that region, and I think it was Welborn, Sachs, PV, and Weaver, 2 of the 4 teams that left that region were non-playoff teams, and 2 of them were playoff teams. And then we pulled in 4 brand new teams that were all playoff teams in their respective classes and regions. So arguably, you could say the region got tougher. And so it is a tough schedule. It is a tough region. But, you know, our guys, we're just basing it on one at a time. You know, the one thing I tell them all the time is, you know, we're going to play some good football teams. We already know that. But I expect us to be a good football team. The other thing is that one game counts one game. You know, we can't go into a game and win it or lose it and then, you know, have the season fall apart or something, because it's only one game. It only counts one. There's no one game you win that counts 10, and there's no one that you lose that counts 10. So, you know, our whole goal is to build win after win, game after game, however many that is, but just get enough of them to figure out how to get in the playoffs. I mean, you know, that's your number one goal, is to get in the playoffs. And then if you win enough of them, then you're contending for region championships. But we only worry about that one game that we're going to play. So the only thing we're worried about now, I mean, we've got August 1st practice, and our first game is we travel to Weaver. So August 26th is the only thing we ever talk about. I haven't talked about, I mean, I mean, arguably, I know that our next game is our first home game, and it's against Coach Rob and them at Oaks Bluff, and, you know, that's a huge rival, and we respect the heck out of those guys, and, you know, we'll be ready for that game, but it won't come one day before I play on August the 26th. I mean, we're not looking at Oaks Bluff, we don't look at Piedmont, we don't look at all of these other teams. We look at the team we're going to play as the only game, and that's the most important one, because as we're preparing for that game, I mean, I'm not looking past that, and these guys aren't. They can tell you right now, the most important game we have is on August the 26th, regardless of the opponent.
Coach, thank you. Thank you, guys. Good luck to the Yellow Jackets this year. Thanks for participating today.
Thank you very much.